So I need your help. If you are someone who deals with Bell's palsy or are someone who treats people with Bell's palsy, I would love to recruit your services to try and solve a problem. For context, I'm a physiotherapist who's really passionate about trying to figure out the root underlying causes of common aches, pains, and injuries. And I feel like I may be onto something potentially important with Bell's palsy. But the reality of being a physiotherapist and seeing a Bell's palsy patient every so often, I want to test out this concept with as many people as possible and get your direct and honest feedback so that we can ultimately do a better job of treating Bell's palsy. And I'm inspired to make this video because recently I treated a lovely lady for back pain. And while we were treating her back pain, we naturally started to talk about the Bell's palsy that she came in with as well. And for those unaware of what Bell's palsy is, it's essentially a sudden but thankfully temporary facial nerve disorder, often characterized by weakness, paralysis, pins and needles tingling, a face that tends to droop, eyelids that maybe don't blink or close properly. And for many people, this can be quite a scary and frustrating and challenging thing to have, not only because many people feel like they've had a stroke, but then thankfully are shown that it isn't as sinister as that. It's a more temporary, reversible dysfunction. But unfortunately for most people with Bell's palsy, some of the best medical advice that we have is that it just takes time to right itself. That can be days, more likely weeks, and potentially months. And not only do you have to live with the obvious facial deformity that tends to come along with Bell's palsy, so many parts of your life can be impacted just because of this facial nerve disorder. Sleeping, eating, socializing, and anything else like that. But the reason why I feel compelled to make this video, typically we say Bell's palsy is due to a viral infection and potentially characterized by stress as well. And my physio brain certainly respects that because that's likely what's going on. But there's a part of this that doesn't necessarily make sense to me, or doesn't necessarily feel like the explanations that we give people are complete enough. And the reason for that is, clinically as a physio, one of the most important ideas to work from is that everything musculoskeletally has to happen for a reason. If your knee becomes sore, or if you've developed headaches, there has to be a genuine reason why those things are there, otherwise they shouldn't be there. And with Bell's palsy, although we tend to say that viral infection and stress play a role on top of that, the interesting thing about those explanations are that viral infections and stress are for the most part a broader, more holistic whole body experience and may not be specific enough to explain why one specific part of your neural tissue, your facial nerves, is there and why it isn't both sides or other parts of your body as well. And it's that concept that has me really interested about Bell's palsy and feeling like there might be more to this conversation than is immediately obvious. And in a way, I hope that there is, because telling someone just to wait for weeks and months to feel better doesn't feel like the best and most encouraging advice, whether it is true or not. So this is where we're at. What I would like to do is I would like to show you a very simple exercise that I took my patient through that potentially made her symptoms feel a little bit better. I want you to try this on yourself, or if you treat people, try this with your Bell's palsy patients. And then immediately let me know what you feel happened, if anything at all. Good, bad, or indifferent. I want to know the results of what you find happen to collate with the results that I find are potentially happening with this. So let's dive into it. So first things first, I want to talk you through the theory of what I feel like I'm finding with my Bell's palsy patients, so that makes sense as to why we're going to do what we're about to do. So if you are a subscriber and you've seen a few of the videos that I've put out, you'll hopefully appreciate that one of the major things that I find clinically in terms of the root cause of common dysfunction is spinal dysfunction. Whether you have knee pain, Achilles problems, plantar fasciitis, a bursitis in your shoulder, or headaches, or anything in between, being very results-based, I've come to understand that segmental spinal dysfunction at the level that could correlate to that peripheral dysfunction tends to be relevant more often than not. And this is highlighted by getting someone to perform a test that exposes their peripheral dysfunction, just treating the relevant spinal sections that maybe feel stiff, tight, or restricted, and then immediately rechecking the same thing again and seeing a difference. Anatomically, one-sided or unilateral facial dysfunction may be connected to neck dysfunction in the top 3 or 4 levels of your neck. Why? Because those top 3 or 4 levels of your neck, when dysfunctional, can short circuit the normal function of all the tissue that they associate with that happens to be your head and face. For example, if you have headaches, if you get sinus pain, if you get jaw pain, ringing in your ears, toothaches, a runny nose, there is a world where segmental spinal dysfunction, like stiff joints, overloaded tissue, can refer or inhibit the function of anything that associates with that spinal segment. And what I found with my patient recently, she had right-sided facial symptoms. When I lay her down and had a feel through the joints on the right side of her upper neck, they felt ridiculously stiff, tight, restricted. When I compared it to the joints on the left-hand side of the neck, they felt a lot softer and less restricted. This may ultimately have no direct connection to a person's Bell's palsy symptoms, but from what I find clinically with other things in the same space, I'm trying to figure out whether hidden accrued dysfunction at the relevant levels at the top of that neck are the thing that the viral infection and the stress pick on to cause the dysfunction through that side of someone's face. As someone who is fiercely results-based, what I want you to do is take a ball. We're going to go looking through to see if we can find anything restricted and stiff through that part of your neck. We're going to spend some time on it to treat that. And then we want to immediately reassess how your Bell's palsy symptoms feel straight away. We also want to double check how you wake up tomorrow to see if there's been any improvement in your Bell's palsy symptoms beyond what you would reasonably expect to be there if you hadn't done this. So that we can potentially start a fresh conversation about Bell's palsy and what else we might need to do to help those symptoms go away much faster than we currently allow them to. So enough of that. The exercise is essentially taking a ball, tennis ball, lacrosse ball, again, doesn't matter what you use. We're going to take that ball, we're going to start right at the top of your neck at the base of your skull, where the bump is in the middle. We want to get the ball to roll directly off the bump onto the fleshy part, and then I'm going to get you to lie down on the floor. You should feel like the ball's pushing into a bit of a bony shelf. Ultimately, what we're looking for is we're trying to get a sense of, does this feel stiff, tight, restricted, harder, thicker? Does the ball not sink in as well when compared to the exact same spot on the other side? So if you feel like this side, the ball sinks in a bit easier, it feels a bit softer, maybe it is a little bit tender, much more so than the same spot on the other side, then this is the side that I want you to work on. And all we're doing here is once you've found that spot, we're going to leave the ball here, we're going to let it press in for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you feel is necessary. Once you've done that, we're then going to move it down a fraction to hit the next joint down. Same thing. See how this feels compared to the other side. Spend the time on the spots that you feel are the most restricted, tight, thick, rusty, whatever word you want to use to describe it. And then just work down to about halfway down your neck, or even lower if you feel like there's more there. Spend enough time on this to ask this to respectfully free up to the point where when you sit back up again, you should hopefully feel that by freeing up some of the soft tissue and the joint restrictions, that your neck suddenly feels a little bit looser than it did before. We need to tick that box first to know that we've actually done something here to figure out whether this is connected. But I have seen enough Bell's palsy patients and felt enough necks to know that there may be a connection between this. And while we may still need to wait for the viral infection to go away, we may need to de-stress you, we may need to do some things to address the medical side of things. I just want to see if I can challenge the idea that we can't speed this up by doing other things that are more mechanically based that may be the thing that this Bell's palsy is picking on. So again, take note of your Bell's palsy symptoms, a general sense of how it feels, get to work on treating and freeing up your neck, then immediately recheck in with those symptoms and let me know in the comments down below what, if anything, you have found. I want your feedback. Please give me your feedback. So I just wanted to jump in here with a quick update. I've just seen my patient for the second time after recording the first part of this video. And amazingly, after just working on the mobility of their neck tissue on the same side, the muscles and the joints, after the first visit, she felt that she was 25% better straight away. And then after this latest session, which is the third session, she mentioned she was feeling 75% better. Again, just from working on the restricted, overloaded, dysfunctional tissue on the same side as her Bell's palsy symptoms. Encouragingly, she felt that she could blink better, she could form words easier, she was sleeping better, some of the headachy, uncomfortable feelings that she'd been dealing with have now gone. Visually, her face looks improved. She's absolutely not perfect yet, but in discussions with her, after just 2 sessions of trying to improve the function of her neck, she feels substantially better, more so than she had felt, just letting time take its course over the preceding 6 weeks. And for a reference point, the first time that I saw her was less than a week ago. So in the space of a week, she has felt like she's improved 75% from where she was just from working on her neck. If there is a genuine, tangible, reproducible link between neck dysfunction and Bell's palsy, then obviously we'll need to do a ton of physical research on this idea, but there's a world where we may be able to change the narrative on this. And more importantly, give people who are suffering from Bell's palsy a chance to get through this much faster than they otherwise would. So again, please let me know. I want your feedback. If this was helpful, please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you want more of this type of content from me. Please consider becoming a member if you want extended cuts of these videos. But as always, thank you for watching. I genuinely hope there's something here beyond what I find clinically. I look forward to your feedback, and I'll see you next time.